Welcome back. I'm Tommy, the Angry Craftsman, and I think today we're going to call this her Lois, the Angry
So today we're
Craftsman's.
gonna call her Lois.
Yes, today we're going to call her Lois.
Okay.
The Angry Craftsman's wife, um, or the boss, or whatever you want to refer to her as. So if you haven't figured out, I may be the face behind this, but she runs the lasers. I usually get yelled at if I come in here. However, she does let me run the fiber every now and then, only because she's usually running the CO2s most of the time.
And he's my tech support. If I have a squinty type problem, he's the one that fixes the things.
Today's topic is pretty much, about our lasers, why we have so many lasers. It's a conversation between her and I. So you'll hear me in the background asking questions, and then her. The one thing that we've realized, and it was brought up the other day, that when you look at demographics and YouTube and makers, and for God's sake, don't ever fucking call me a maker. I am a craftsman. I am very particular about what I do, so that's my vent, and I'll stop that for now. However, there are not a lot of women that are out there, and most women don't want to listen to me. Hell, I don't want to listen to me most of the time. She sure as shit doesn't listen to me most of the time. So we're going to have her on camera for most of this, with the asking questions back and forth, the conversation between her and I. It may be fun. You may get butt hurt. If you do, I don't care. Give it a thumbs down. There's a couple trolls out there that give every one of my video thumbs down, and that's okay. I'm not monetized on YouTube. I don't give a shit about monetization. I'm not sponsored by anybody, except for we are sponsored by our own businesses. So none of the shit matters to us. However, with all that being said, we'll go back and forth and asking questions and answering it, and trying to help people out with a face that most people are willing to listen to. I get shit thrown at me if I don't listen to it. So, again, you can, we've mentioned it before. If you've never tuned into the channel, or you're not sure who we are, you can find us on the Thunder Laser USA webinars. We're a little blunt, but that's the way it is with us. If the truth hurts, it hurts.
If you want things sugar coated, we're not your people.
So we'll roll with the footage that we have. I hope you stick around through the whole thing. If you got any questions, hit us up with a comment. If you want to like and subscribe. I don't give a shit. She doesn't care. So it is completely up to you. Other than that, we hope you enjoy this and learn something from it.
So yes, today y'all have a different face than you're used to seeing on our channel. But I am also a part of our business. I am, like he said, pretty much the one that runs the lasers most of the time. But that doesn't mean I'm going to sugarcoat things or speak differently than my husband normally would. That's just not how we are. So I may still say things that y'all don't like, and then that's just how it is. Sorry.
So help me understand why you have so many damn lasers.
Because the tax money, because the tax man, we got to spend the money. That's why we have so many lasers.
So capitalism.
Sure.
Reinvesting into the business.
Yes, we are reinvesting in our own business to help it grow.
Okay, and you have, or we have, or however you want to put it, 2 CO2s, right?
Yes, 2 CO2s, 51130 and a 3580.
Why do you have the big one?
So this was our first Thunder. Our very first laser was a Boss 1420 and 70 watt.
Yes.
If I remember correctly. Which did lots and lots of things. It was teeny tiny little workspace. Yes, it had pass-through doors, but whatever. we decided that we wanted to grow and expand our business. So we needed more capabilities with what our laser could do, the thickness of the materials that it could cut, and go big or go home. So we just went for the 130 watt. There is a larger size one, but this one we didn't think we needed to get the 63. The 51 was gonna do everything we needed it to do. You can pop the doors off, slide a whole sheet of plywood in it. So if he doesn't have the time, he doesn't have to cut down the material for me. It's just hilarious watching me wield an entire sheet of plywood by myself. So anyway.
I will admit, it is kind of comical.
So that's why we got this one. We wanted more capabilities to be able to do more things. Also, getting this got me out of our basement and into my building.
So, and the little one is what, an 80 watt?
Yeah, this one is an 80 watt. It still has all the pass-through doors, but it's not big enough to slide a whole sheet of plywood in. That was okay because we already had something that could handle that. He also has all the saws that can cut material down for me if I need. We found when we got this one, there was some materials that we were used to using in the Boss that this just had too much butt for. Just kind of fried some materials. We do some really delicate things. So even going as low as this could, at higher speeds, low power, high speeds, whatever, it was still just a little too much. So that's where bumping down to an 80 watt, a little bit closer to what we had with the Boss, which obviously we sold, so that we could get some of that finesse with certain materials. So now there are some things that we solely do in one machine and some things that we solely do in the other machine. I'm gonna cut, solid 1 inch thick cherry over here. I'm not even gonna try it over here because I don't need to. We figured out that powder coated tumblers were really great in this machine. We get a nicer finish than we do in this one. It's not saying that you can't do them in this machine. We've done it. We just personally like the results better in this machine.
So when you look at the two machines and the sizes, you have found it beneficial to have multiple machines.
Yes.
And not just stick with one.
Yes. But if I had to only pick one, and if, say, budget constraints or things like that, I would go with a 35, either 80 or 100 watt. Just remember, the 100 watt, you'll have the tube extension, which would, for us, ends up behind my desk. That's part of the reason in having the configuration that we do is because of the Boss had a tube extension on it. So it was nice to keep that safe behind the desk. You can also get the 51 and a 100 watt, which helps kind of tone that down a little bit. Because most people aren't going to be cutting 1 inch thick solid wood with their machines. We understand that we're doing things that the vast majority of people aren't doing.
So you and I were talking earlier, and you brought up test cards.
Yes.
In reference to what the capabilities of the machines are and can do, and why you would use one over the other.
Yes. So that's one of the first things I do when I get new materials to work with in. This is Thunder's old test card. They have since updated the test card, which fixes the 5 and 10 speed cut layers. So this will look a little bit different. I think you can still download this one on the website, but there is a newer updated version which I have switched to. This just happened to be cards that I had, same material that I did on both machines. I reference these all the time. Yes, I have my material library in my computer. Yes, I have a notebook where I have settings and things written down. But I'm visual. I like to literally see what's going to happen. On the 130, I made a note for a speed and power that I have found that works, that goes beyond what the test card shows. So this is not the only speeds and power settings that you guys can run. You can do tests beyond this. Lightburn also has a material test generator in there as well. But sometimes, thickness is not going to matter for which machine I use. So I'm going to pull these out and go, okay, I have X amount of time. So I need to run it over here because I can get it done faster. Or I want a little bit more finesse or detail, so I may run it over here. It just depends. I also have some of these that on the back sides, I have also done some tests with the 1.5" American Photonics lens that we have. So that's something to think about too when you have different lenses. Not just running these for your different machines, but maybe also then running them for your different lenses so that you know the capabilities that you fully have.
So, as the owner of a laser engraving business, and specifically laser engraving, you already talked about that you feel that, or do you feel that having multiple lasers is beneficial?
Yes.
But if you only had one laser, could you still function?
Yeah. Yeah, it would just be differently. My lead times would be a little bit longer because, if I'm running a long job, or say, we've got 400 tumblers that are ordered, well, then that's like a whole week that I'm not doing anything else until I get that done. And maybe I'm just going to end up with longer days so that I can get that job finished and out of the way so that I can get on to the next thing. As it is right now, I can do one thing in this machine while I'm doing something in this machine, while I'm doing, setting up for the next jobs on the computer. Maybe we're also running the fiber at the same time. Who knows? So it definitely increases your speed if you are somebody that can multitask. If you're not a good multitasker, then don't have more than one machine.
How many computers do you have?
I have 2 computers. I've got one set up here for the CO2s, and then I have my old laptop that we use over for the fiber, and when we get the UV, it will also control the UV. That's a personal preference. It's not a necessity. Kind of like, I like having all my machines the same brand because of certain things like where home is and stuff like that. I noticed when we had 2 different brands and home was in 2 different locations, it was constantly flipping things around if I opened it for one machine and then opened it for the other machine. So I kind of like to keep things a little bit separate. We run into some of that flip-flopping when maybe I design something in the Lightburn setup for a CO2, and then now we're going to run it on the fiber, and I need to change my setup. And things flip and get inverted, and it gets confusing, and it's a lot of extra checking, especially if it's not words that are obvious that it changed.
If we still had the original tiny little laser before, I know some people, have, whether it's a Glowforge or whatnot,
Mm-hmm.
Would your business had expanded to what it is now?
No, there's a good portion of the products that we do I would not be doing. Our business as a whole could still do them. My portion of the business would not be handling those things. By me being able to do those things on the laser, it frees up your shop time to do other things.
And it made it nice with the 51-130 when we did a memorial bench.
Yeah. We literally, he built an entire garden bench. We were able to stick the whole back of it in here, and engrave a nice memorial section on it instead of just a tiny little plate that, you know, most little things like that have. We were able to really give them something nice that people were going to notice and remember and stuff like that. That we could have maybe done it. We did some really big stuff in our smaller machines, so it is possible in smaller machines as long as you have pass-throughs. It's just a little bit more complicated. I literally have pictures of him standing there holding boards out the front of our old machine.
Bourbon barrels.
Yeah. Bourbon barrel lids, all kinds of stuff. So it's just a little bit easier when you have these larger machines. It doesn't mean you have to have it though. It really depends on what you want to do and the direction that your business is going.
And expanding to the fiber.
Mm-hmm. We got asked all the time, can you engrave metal? No. We can spray some special, and this is how I tell people, we can spray special paint on it and the laser will set the paint, but I cannot actually mark the metal. Now we can. It's really nice to be able to tell people, oh, yes, we can do that when they ask us, can we engrave X, Y, or Z? And we don't have to tell people no. There's really only a few things, and once we get the UV, pretty much we can do anything. And that'll be really nice.
With the Galvo heads, or the Galvo machines versus the gantry, the options for engraving obviously change.
Yeah.
Reference to.
So this is one of our products, and he cuts all the wood on the CNC. Obviously, that's another part of our business. I laser cut this liner, and I used to just engrave random things on them. Well, now we want to change our processes and how we operate, and we want to go ahead and have just one color option unless someone specifically orders something. This is just going to be what comes standard unless someone orders something else. So we want to go ahead and have everything cut and glued in place. Well, I can't necessarily put this in the CO2 laser and engrave it because the head might hit the edges because of the depth and stuff like that. So now we can throw this in when we get the UV, and we'll just be able to set it in there. And the way it does its red dot, it actually outlines like the whole image. It's really neat. And we'll be able to just, place it and make sure that it's in there correctly, and we don't have to worry about any head crashes or anything like that. So.
What,
Yeah, we can do the things, but the things look nicer on some of the other machines.
Like what?
I can run the anodized aluminum here, and I can run it here. It looks like garbage over here. Maybe that's a me problem with figuring out settings, whatever. Or we can do it here, or it's going to look really nice in the fiber.
Okay, and even better in the UV.
And probably, yeah, even better in the UV. Or more variability in the UV.
This industry of laser engraving and women in it, and the lack of women mentors or support. You got any thoughts on that one?
It's out there, but it's out there very brand specific. So if you're not one of those brand followers, I'm trying to word this nicely, then some of their stuff's not applicable to you. We go to shows and people see my stuff and they see that it's done with a laser and they're like, oh, you have a blah, 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 insert brand name here. that has done fantastic marketing campaign. And I say, no, I have a big girl laser. I can actually fit 3 of those inside of my big laser. And they go, oh. So yeah, there probably does need to be more people like me out here talking about some of the more commercial grade machines, because the Thunders really are commercial grade machines.
What's their ease of use? You went from a Boss to a Thunder.
And before that, I worked on an Epilogue. I much prefer the Thunders over the ridiculously expensive Epilogues. So I already had experience with transition from, the RF tubes to CO2. I already understood some of that, and then changing over from Boss to Thunder. There was very minor things, and we've told tech support, hey, can you guys talk to China and maybe get rid of the fact that there's a key lock here, and maybe just put like a little tab switch thing, so I don't have to find a key every time I want to take a panel off. But yeah, there was definitely the air. The fact that I can control the air for my cut and engrave settings is amazing. I don't have to try and do it manually and stop and remember and change the things. The fact that Thunder has all of that built into the machine, where you're not your air pumps, because that's what they come with, pumps, not compressors, aren't just running all the time and overheating unless you're doing a really long job. But if you're paused in the middle of a job, these Thunder tells it to stop. It doesn't need to be running. Same with the fans. Thunder has all that controlled in their stuff. Whereas with the Boss, I had to manually control all of that and remember it. We have done some bypasses on these machines, partially because the 51130 still had the old non-nice inline fan when we purchased it, so we just used what we already had. So I do have a remote here where I can control my fans and stuff. Still, a couple years later, sometimes I look over and go, oh crap, it's full of smoke, I forgot to turn the fan on. So that's something nice that Thunder does, is they've automated some of those processes to help people out.
Why do you have multiple machines and not just one machine?
Because we do a lot of different things. A lot. Most other businesses anywhere in the bubble of our type of business don't do as many different things as we do. We probably do too many different things. But it's what works for us. So our main things.
So in your opinion, if you are a laser business, mm-hmm. and your business is primary laser,
blah 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 blah.
Yeah,
blah,
no
blah,
shit.
Blah.
Having multiple machines is beneficial because one goes down.
Yeah, that's another thing. There's obviously a ton of crossover and capabilities between these machines, so that if one goes down, we're not dead in the water. There may be some things that we are not going to do, that we're going to have to change gears if it's something that can't wait and has to get out the door. We have a lot of different tools, so we will find a way and we will make it happen. But yeah, how many screwdrivers do you have?
Okay, valid point. The better question is, how many routers do I have?
Yeah, how many routers do you have? How many sanders do you have?
Exactly.
Same kind of thing, just a lot more expensive and bigger.
Other tools that you need to do what you do.
Oh my gosh, yeah. It's not just I'm gonna get a laser and that's all I need. No. depending upon the size of your laser and your capabilities, you may need a circular saw or a table saw to cut down your materials, to get it to fit in your machine. Or you're stuck with ordering everything already pre-cut to those sizes, which is possible, but costs go up. Sanders, all the different sanders. And just go ahead and invest in something that's better quality if it's in your budget. I end up doing a lot of hand sanding. Well, because we got bored one day and decided we were gonna figure out how to make dice, we learned about a whole other type of sanding, where you take a tiny little pottery wheel and put sandpaper on top of it. So I don't use that for dice now. I use it for sanding my earrings because it helps save my hands from getting sore back and forth on the sandpaper doing it by hand. And if something slips on this sander, because I can, what is it? The speed's adjustable. If my hand slams into it, I'm not gonna have to, have a skin graft or whatever, as if I was using some of the other bigger sanders that we have. So yeah, there's definitely lots of other tools that you'll find that you need along the way, more than just the big expensive ones. Now, what do I do?
Yes, let's go into that one.
Okay, I just bought my laser. Now, what do I do? Don't be a dipshit. Do some research on your brands. Everybody should have a website out there. Go do some research. They should all have some information. Do a Google search or search engine of choice, whatever. Find videos, find tutorials, whether it's video or written instruction, whatever your learning style is. The internet probably has it out there that's going to help you. And then there's folks like us that will, yes, we may be able to go on site and help somebody with some of their things. But we do offer, hey, come here and we'll show you, kind of the general flow of things. So when people want to check out Thunders and we have them over, that's part of it, is step by step, here's how you turn it on, whatever. Yeah, all these people that buy these $10,000 machines and then, oh, I'm too afraid to turn it on. Did you do that with your car? Or did you learn what you needed to learn on how to drive a car?
Now that, the you can definitely know that you are my wife. We'll call her the angry craftsman's wife now. But the steps in the process is your first cut. What's the first thing you should do?
So, and I preach material test cards, material test cards, material test cards. The first thing you should try and do is cut a square or a circle. Just something small. Know that you're going to waste material when you first get your laser. That's just part of it. That needs to be factored into the budget or whatever. Have scrap material. Maybe not 3mm birch, because that's a little harder to find and getting expensive. Cardboard. Everybody has cardboard boxes. Throw some cardboard boxes in your machine. Know that you can go faster with a lower power with something like that. But it's just to see how the machine, all right, he's dying back there choking on something. Just so you can see how the machine works and operates for yourself. As far as, where you designate your origin to where the machine's gonna move to start its cut. Yeah. Don't be afraid. Have a spray bottle of water if you're really afraid, so that you can, if something starts to flame up, so that you can put that out real quick with a little bit of water. Yeah, don't be afraid.
So let's talk about a brand new customer walking in with something you have never done. Because it seems to be that, most people wind up, oh, I've got this to do, and I've never done this before, and I've got a week to get it done in.
Okay, well, what material is it? So I can source that material. Do you have extras? Because I'm going to need something to practice on. So we'll talk about leatherette. So we want to do the very
we've done it.
Yeah, the very first thing we did, or one of the first things we did was a leatherette notebook thing. I'm not gonna waste a $20 or whatever it was notebook for practice. I'm going to buy a sheet of the same color leatherette, and I'm going to practice on that and run a material test card, whatever. Do things with different air settings, whatever you need to do to fine tune it, to get it right before you put that expensive, potentially irreplaceable item in your machine to permanently engrave on.
We do a lot of wood species specifically.
Yes.
And we found that there are differences.
Oh, vast differences in not just wood species, but different parts of a board. Because we do a lot of solid hardwood, not plywood. Most people in the laser industry, when they talk about doing wood, they're actually talking about plywood. And then there's a whole bunch of different variabilities in that category. We do a lot of actual, real, solid hardwoods. And cherry is one of the things that we use the most. And when you have the nice, gorgeous, solid color cherry board, it's going to cut like a dream. As soon as you introduce some nice creamy swaths of sapwood in there, the laser's not going to like that very much. So when I put the board in the machine and I frame what's going to be cut, I try and make sure, if I can, that I am not cutting through the sapwood, because I know that it's just not. It's a lot more difficult. But flip that when you're using walnut, and the sapwood cuts better than the dark part of the walnut.
And exotics. We do a lot of exotics and have practiced on a lot of exotics.
And we've wasted some very expensive pieces of material because they caught fire. They started smoldering, and they literally just got chucked right out the shop door. This being one that happened to be right here. You can see we were trying to cut these boxes, and you can see here where it got a little dark and started smoldering because you've got that nice air going on there. And you can see it on the back side where it went through instantly. This piece is ruined. Thankfully, we have lots and lots of tools, and Tommy can take this into the wood shop and cut the burn sections out and mill this down for me for earrings or another project, whatever.